I'm glad that that's how I'll always think of it.